In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to keep your emails out of your customer's spam folder and into their inbox. So before we can go into how to get your emails out of the spam folder, we have to understand what it is. So what is spam? Spam is usually fake or useless information that gets sent in an email, or it's targeted at people to try to get them to do something, click on something, provide credentials, provide specific information. So I know when it comes to email marketing, your goal is to get somebody to click on something, but the reason email marketing copywriting is so important is because you're doing it in a way that doesn't directly say, hey, click this, click that, view this here. So those type of keywords you have to be mindful of. So we understand what spam is, but how does it get there? So a lot of email providers such as Gmail, Yahoo, even custom-based ones, all have something called a spam filter. Some are more powerful than others. Google has a very, very powerful spam filter. And that seems to be what you're going to get hit with most of the time because you're aiming at probably somebody's Gmail account or even their Yahoo account. But what's important here is how to get away from that spam filter and have it not even pick up your email when looking at it. And that's the kind of things we're going to look over here. What does the spam filter look for and how can we get around it while still abiding by the filter's rules? Because then we don't want to go too far around a spam filter because then they're going to fix something. We want to do it as correct as possible so that way it has the most long-term effect as possible. You want your emails to consistently land in somebody's inbox, not get caught in the spam filter every single time or every 6 months because you decided to go around something. So before we go ahead and go any further, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any more amazing content. So the first and most important thing we need to look at when trying to get out of that spam folder and into the inbox is the words you use in your email. So you want to avoid things like click here, buy now, order this, navigate here, purchase now, giant bold letters. You want to avoid those type of words. And you'll see a scrolling list over top of here, and I'll also link it in the description so you guys can go ahead and take a look at it. Keep in mind that these types of words are always changing and it's never going to be the same. So there might be some words that work now that don't work later. So your goal here is to keep yourself away from the known words like the ones I'm listing over here. And you want to keep yourself away from those in the subject, the title, and in your email, which is a very important thing a lot of people don't know, is that you can't use some of those keywords in your email itself. So whatever at Gmail, whatever at whatever.com, you want to avoid using those keywords like buy now at yourdomain.com. You want to avoid that because that's stuff that's going to trigger it immediately because it's not a common and professional way to look at things. It might get somebody's attention, but it's not going to look good from the spam filter side of things. So just keep that in mind. The words you use are very important, and how you articulate it in an email makes the difference, and that's where copywriting is extremely important here. So one of the other important things is, especially when you're starting a brand new business, is your domain age. Now, it might not seem obvious at first. So there's a lot of things where a spam filter will automatically look at how old a domain is. And this is a catch-22 because if you're a new business and you're trying to get established and start to get things running, you're going to be new. But what's important here is if you start a business, try to buy your domain at least 30 days ahead of time. A lot of people don't know this, but spam filters will directly end it. It'll put it directly into spam if your domain is older or is younger than 30 days. So I'm going to leave this link down below as well for the domain age checker. So an example here is if we use Red Team Nation, for example, which is one of my businesses. So if we go ahead and check here, we can see the date that it was registered and how old that domain is. So if we come in here and do blah 1 2 3 4 5 6, something that most likely doesn't exist. So we don't see any record for it, which means it doesn't exist. Which means if it's brand new, we're going to end up seeing something that is 20 days, 19 days, 15 days. So if we go into google.com, we can see 1997, 22 years, 133 days. So again, it's just a small bit, it's a small thing that people don't notice, but when you're starting to send out, especially if you're doing email marketing or affiliate marketing as your main branch, you don't want to buy the domain and then immediately start sending out emails. You want to try to buy your domain ahead of time, then you can start sending out your emails. Otherwise, you're going to shoot yourself straight into spam. Using caps is a big issue. When you're using over 40% of your text as caps, you don't want to go there. That's an immediate flag from a spam filter, even the most simple and basic one. So anything in an email that's considered a field, such as the from email address, so where you're sending it from, the name of the email on its way in, which is sometimes you have control over it depending on what email platform you have, the subject and the title, in the body. You want to keep track of all those things and don't use an absorbent amount of caps. So it's okay every now and then to have a single word in full caps, or of course the beginning of the sentence, but you don't want to have every other word as caps, just like this example here. This is a bad example. Don't do that. So the gaps between letters. Sometimes you want to try to beat the spam filter by adding in spaces in between some of the characters on words that are particularly sensitive. So like the buy now, order now, click here, those type of things. And some of you tech savvy guys might be using different special characters to kind of make it look like it's supposed to be a space. It doesn't work. Spam filters will see that right away just as easy. So keep that in mind. You don't want to put spaces in between things to try to bypass the spam filter. It will be found, and if it's not found at this exact moment, it'll probably be found a month from now. So domain reputation is just as important as everything else, and it's something that a lot of people don't really notice as well. You're not going to have this nearly as much when you first start out your business, but once you started sending out emails and you're starting to become established, that's when you need to pay attention to your reputation of your domain. So if we take a look here and we take a look at Red Team Nation, we will see here that it looks like we're 50% good, 50% bad, which is an arbitrary number, but essentially this means that you're in the neutral zone. And most domains will end up in the neutral zone specifically, and it's not a bad place to be. It just means that they haven't really seen a bunch of good and they haven't seen a bunch of bad either, which is at this point it's letting the spam filter, it's just one category that the spam filter is going to ignore and let it handle with other categories such as the types of words that might be there and whatnot. So if we take a look at, let's say google.com, right? So if we take a look here, we can see that a lot of their stuff that they own that are owned by Google, so we can see Proofpoint, Google LLC, they all seem to be pretty good, 8% bad, 16% bad, 80% good. Some are just zero neutral. And that's a lot of times it's just because the emails don't come from a specific IP address. We can see NHS Mail seems to have a lot of bad emails, spam, virus, Trojans, all that type of stuff leaving email from that IP address, at least from what this place has seen. And then you start seeing that high bad reputation. And that's the important part here, is you don't want that on your domain. You need to figure out why. Is somebody using your domain to send emails off of? If that's the case, you might want to look into SPF records. And there's a few other things to kind of mitigate this that goes a little out of scope of the video specifically. But what's important here is to know whether you're in that bad reputation or not. And it's good to kind of check yourself every few months or so, and you want to make sure that everything looks good. But if you guys want a little bit more details of kind of how to sort this problem out once it is in a bad reputation, go ahead and comment below and just let me know. I'll be more than happy to make a video that is not so tech heavy that you have to be a real tech guy to understand or even implement. So some of it's very, very simple depending on the website and how you kind of had things built. Whether you use hosting or whether you built it yourself, a lot of things change. But what's important here is to know whether you're in that bad reputation, so that way you can sort this problem out early on and you can stop sending your email campaigns if you know you're in that bad reputation, because nobody's going to see it. No bother spending your money on it. So just keep this in mind when looking at the reputation of your business in general. This one's pretty subtle. And this is going to be one of those that a lot of people don't even notice is a requirement a lot of the times. So if you want your email to not get caught into spam instantaneously, you need to add an opt-in similar to how YouTube does it here. You want to have an opt-out button. You want to have an opt-out button in link in some way, shape, or form that says unsubscribe, opt-out, something, along with the address of your business at the bottom. Those are very, very, very important. And a lot of times it won't even hit their inbox without it. So keep that in mind. Those are very, very important aspects. And sometimes they're really overlooked. Thanks everybody for watching. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to make sure you don't miss anything else that I'm coming out with. I'm leaving a few other videos up top that you guys might find interesting.